Welcome back to this week's edition of the Risk Spotlight Operational Risk News Update. My name is Emily Jones, and today I'll bring you essential updates and insights from the world of operational risk. All information is sourced from the RiskSpotlight Portal, the premier forward-looking service for operational risk content. Let's get started. First up, the UK regulators have finalized their critical third-party CTP rules, which will come into effect from January 1st, 2025. These rules will apply to technology providers whose failure could pose a systemic risk to the UK financial system. The Financial Conduct Authority, FCA, the Prudential Regulation Authority, PRA, and the Bank of England have collaborated to create principles-based rules for CTPs, requiring enhanced operational resilience and risk management measures. This is a significant development, especially as incidents involving third-party providers have been increasing, as seen during the CrowdStrike IT outage in July 2024, which had a considerable impact across financial firms. The FCA has highlighted third-party related issues as a leading cause of operational incidents, thus reinforcing the importance of the CTP regime. The alignment with international standards, such as the EU's Digital Operational Resilience Act, DORA, and the U.S. Bank Service Company Act, underscores the growing need for global consistency in managing critical third parties. The UK Treasury is expected to designate entities as CTPs in early 2025, and financial firms reliant on these providers are watching closely to understand the potential impact on their operational resilience practices. While there will be more interaction between CTPs and their financial services clients, such as involving clients in setting tolerances for disruptions and scenario testing, CTPs are not required to change contracts immediately. Instead, changes will happen gradually as contracts are renewed. This new framework is part of a broader regulatory push to ensure that key third-party service providers can uphold the resilience needed to protect the stability of the financial system. Next, let's shift to the transformative potential of artificial intelligence in financial services, as recently discussed by Federal Reserve Governor Michelle W. Bowman. In her speech at the annual symposium on building the financial system of the 21st century, Bowman highlighted how AI is revolutionizing areas like fraud prevention, credit underwriting, and operational efficiency. AI-driven tools have enabled institutions to better analyze unstructured data and enhance decision-making processes, such as using machine learning to detect fraud and prevent high-profile schemes targeting checks and U.S. Treasury instruments. In fiscal year 2024 alone, the U.S. Treasury Department reported over $4 billion in fraud prevention and recovery, including $1 billion related to Treasury check fraud. However, Bowman also pointed out the inherent risks in AI adoption, including disparities in outcomes and data privacy concerns. She emphasized the need for a regulatory framework that encourages innovation while mitigating systemic risks, highlighting that existing laws around fair lending, cybersecurity, and privacy already apply to AI applications. As AI's influence grows, in-house counsel and compliance teams are encouraged to embed AI oversight into their governance frameworks, ensuring models function effectively and equitably while fostering open communication with regulators. Now, moving over to the fraud landscape, we've seen increasing measures from banks to protect their customers. Since July 2023, member banks of ABM and IBM in Malaysia have implemented several anti-fraud strategies, such as replacing SMS one-time passwords with more secure authentication methods, introducing malware shielding technologies in mobile apps, and launching a 24/7 dedicated fraud channel. The sophistication of scammers is also evolving, posing challenges to banks and other service providers. Banks are playing a crucial role in empowering customers to recognize and avoid scams through proactive education and AI-powered fraud detection tools. While these measures may introduce minor inconveniences, they are essential for safeguarding customers' financial interests and ensuring trust in digital banking. Speaking of fraud, let's talk about the growing issue of scams in the UK. According to a recent report by CFUS, UK consumers lost over £11 billion to online fraud in the past year, a substantial increase compared to previous years. Email remains the most common channel for these scams, followed by text messages and phone calls. The The State of Scams in the UK report reveals that less than a fifth of victims recovered their lost money, contributing to a low rate of reporting to the authorities. CIFA CEO Mike Haley called for greater cross-sector collaboration to combat the UK's scams emergency, emphasizing that protecting consumers requires collective efforts from government bodies, law enforcement, and industry players. On the international front, Russia's cyber activity remains a concern. In a recent address, the UK's Chancellor of the Duchy of Lancaster, Pat McFadden, spoke about Russia's continuous cyber attacks on the UK, which are aimed at weakening government support for Ukraine. McFadden reiterated the UK's commitment to standing with Ukraine, emphasizing the need for resilience against cyber threats and urging businesses to strengthen their digital defenses. This comes at a time when cyber attacks are increasingly being recognized as a form of modern warfare, aimed at destabilizing economies and undermining national security. Email attackers are increasingly exploiting URL rewriting in phishing attacks to evade detection. URL rewriting is a security measure used by email protection services to wrap URLs in emails with new links that redirect recipients through security checks. However, cybercriminals are now exploiting this by compromising accounts and generating legitimate-looking wrapped links that bypass security filters. In some sophisticated cases, attackers are performing double rewrite attacks, further obfuscating the malicious intent by wrapping links twice through different vendors. The final link may even include CAPTCHA prompts to evade automated threat detection systems. These evolving tactics show that organizations must continue to invest in advanced, AI-powered email threat detection systems that can analyze links in real time, rather than relying solely on traditional URL scanning services. And finally, turning our attention to insider threats, a recent report by cybersecurity insiders highlighted a sharp increase in insider attacks over the past year. The report shows that 83% of organizations experienced at least one insider attack, with the number of companies facing between 11 and 20 incidents growing fivefold since 2023. Contributing factors include complex IT environments, inadequate security measures, and a lack of employee awareness. The report calls for advanced monitoring solutions, automated threat detection, and a zero-trust framework to mitigate the risks posed by insider threats. Organizations are encouraged to focus on creating a security-conscious culture where employees are trained to identify risks and contribute to overall cybersecurity efforts. These measures are increasingly critical as businesses adopt hybrid cloud models and next-generation technologies, which add to the complexity of managing insider threats. Now let's turn to key operational risk loss events reported last week. The first update is about Japan's largest banks, including Mizuho, Sumitomo Mitsui, and Mitsubishi UFJ, maintaining their support for the Indian Adani Group amid ongoing controversies. Japan's largest banks plan to continue their ties with billionaire Gautam Adani's conglomerate, despite recent U.S. bribery charges, while some international firms like Barclays and Jefferies are reassessing their relationships. The next update is about HSBC's unsuccessful attempt to challenge a significant EU cartel fine. Europe's second top court has rejected HSBC's appeal against a €31.7 million fine imposed by EU antitrust regulators 3 years ago. This ruling underscored the EU's commitment to enforcing antitrust regulations in the financial sector, with HSBC facing consequences for its involvement in a cartel related to the manipulation of the Euribor benchmark rate. The next update is about the Securities and Exchange Commission, SEC, taking action against Invesco advisors for misleading statements regarding ESG integration. The SEC has charged Invesco advisors with making false claims about the percentage of its assets under management that incorporated environmental, social, and governance (ESG) factors in investment decisions. Invesco agreed to pay a substantial $17.5 million civil penalty to settle the charges, which stemmed from the firm's exaggerated statements between April 2020 and July 2022 that 70 to 94% of its assets were ESG integrated. This case highlights the SEC's ongoing efforts to crack down on greenwashing in the financial sector and emphasizes the importance of accurate ESG-related disclosures by investment firms. That concludes this week's Operational Risk Updates. For more on these topics and additional insights, visit the RiskSpotlight Portal. If you're a subscriber, log in or go to riskspotlight.com to sign up for a free trial. Thanks for tuning in, and until next time, stay safe and keep those risks in check.